Hey everybody, it's Dispeller. I'm going to talk to you tonight about abusers and how to deal with them. Let me turn this YouTube thing down first. Okay, we're good. Good. All right. Anyway, so I want to first talk to you about what abusers do, and then I want to talk to you about how to deal with them most effectively. Do I always do it the right way? No, I definitely don't. But I'm trying to learn how to deal with it. So maybe we can learn together. All right. So I've been doing a little bit of research here. And I do know to tell you that any type of abuse, whether it's verbal, physical, psychological, intimate type abuse in relationships, etc., is all about a power kick, a power struggle. Maintaining that power. The abuser always has to feel like they are superior. They are the ones over you, not you over them. They have to be the dominant one. Um, and it's important to know that to an abuser, they don't want to have a understanding, a relationship, a communication that's open and equal on both sides. That's not what they're about. They're all about the power struggle, and they always need to be the winner that comes out on top at your expense. So they use verbal abuse, slander, defamation, whatever, controlling threats, etc., to do this. They're very impatient, impulsive, insensitive, unforgiving. They lack empathy. They're envious. They can be paranoid. They can be suspicious. And they can have flip flop moods that shift from goofy and fun and whatever to really angry and rageful. Some will use silent treatment, some will use anger to punish, some will use threats, some will use foul language. It just depends. It's always their way or the highway. That's how abusers operate. So, um, they're usually pretty bullying, abusers are, and they all have the same motive, which is to always look like they're on the upper end of things. So whether they come out as the hero, the rescuer, um, the true one, the one that has all the information, the smart one, the knowledgeable one, etc., the talented one, whatever, they always have to stay in the top. This is because they really don't have any power. So they feel very helpless and worthless, and they feel like they have nothing going for them. So they have to pretend that they have something going for them, and usually at your expense. A lot of times, this is the way that they were treated when they were growing up. Maybe they had a dysfunctional parent. It doesn't matter why they are the way they are, they just are. And it's good to know what drives all of that. They can be insecure, they can have a lot of shame, a lot of anger, that kind of thing. When you allow somebody to abuse you, it ruins your self esteem and your self worth. Um, you need to actually have support when you're going to deal with this sort of thing. It's very hard to face it if there aren't other people that will validate you and tell you that you didn't imagine it, that there's actually something going on, that this person actually did hurt you in some way, shape, or form. Um, it can lead to self doubt, insecurity, being alone when you don't need to be, kind of isolating yourself. It can also cause you to depend more on the person abusing you. Now, there are mistakes that we make sometimes in an abuse situation. And one of these mistakes that you make is appeasing the abuser, which means giving in to them. The abuser, even when you give in to them and say, oh, it's okay, okay, I'll do what you say, they see this like you're weak. They don't see it as, oh, good, I got you on my side. They see it as, what the heck is wrong with you? Why would you give in to me? Why would you be okay with what I'm doing? I know you have stronger values than that. Why would you allow me to lead you around by the nose? And actually, Becky, the former mentor, hi Wheezy, actually said that to me. She said, I don't know what to think about you because you let me do this stuff to you. Why would you let me treat you this way? And I was so confused. I was like, let you treat me this way? I didn't tell you to treat me this way. You know, there is no letting you. I don't know how to not let you do it because this is just how you are. But they try to put it on you like it's your fault because you didn't stop them, like they can't help themselves. And kind of like the abuser that's beating up the woman while he's hitting her, saying, why do you go and make me do this again? How come you always make me hit you like this? Why don't you just listen and then I wouldn't have to do this? Just like my ex told our counselor, if she would just mind me, I wouldn't have to get angry. I wouldn't have to give her grounding and discipline, because he treated me like the kid and my daughter like the wife. That's how that all went down. And I'm sure, at that point, I know the counselor knew that something was up with his brain, because she came to me later and said, yeah, he's a narcissist and you need to get out of there. So yeah, appeasing them and giving in to them does not bring you any type of resolution. It just makes them see you as weak. Arguing with them, fighting, verbal fights, etc. The more angry you get, the more abusive they get. Nobody wins. You end up losing by feeling like the victim and hopeless and a mess. And that's what they want. But you can't argue with an abuser. Explaining, defending, trying to prove yourself, trying to justify yourself, just leaves you open for more abuse. If you are accused, simply denying it and saying, hey, that's not what happened, without going into detail, is what is recommended. But for me personally, I want to explain all the time. I didn't say that, I didn't do that, or more so than I didn't, I want to say, well, this is why I said or did what I want. I always want to somehow justify and prove that there was a reason why I did it. That was a good reason. But that doesn't work with an abuser. They don't care. Their motive is always to have power. So if they're making you squirm and whatever, then they're getting what they want. So explaining and defending yourself is basically saying, you can control how I feel about myself. You can approve or disapprove me, and you can tell me what's right and wrong for me, and what I should do, what I shouldn't do. I'm not wise enough to make those decisions for myself. Trying to get the abuser to actually come to an equilibrium with you, some form of a truce. This is not going to work, because it's really something that the abuser could care less about. Again, they're not in the relationship to try to have a mutual trust thing going on. They think that they have to just always control you, make things happen the way they want them to happen. They're not interested in hearing the facts of anything. They just want to justify that they're the right one, they're the smart one, they're the best, they're the one that you should listen to. Just ignore my victim over here. I'm the one that you need to listen to. Also, actually lashing back, they call it clap back online. Basically, remember that abusers are in the heart very insecure people, even though they're acting like they're going to beat you up or threatening you or whatever. They can dish it out, but they can't take it. And a lot of people have said that to people that are abusers. Hey, you can dish it out, but you can't take it. You can be really nasty to me, but if I come back and say, hey, you did this or this or this, you get really ticked off and you can't handle it because of the shame or whatever. So basically, when you give a person that is an abuser like kind of a rebuke or whatever you want to call it, and say, hey, you can't treat me like this, why are you doing this to me, that makes them go into a rage, and then they might become very vengeful and try to take revenge on you, and it's just not good. You need to be assertive, not aggressive. and not fight back because you're just spinning your wheels. It does not work for them with them. Okay, so here are some effective ways to deal with if you are in an abuse situation. First of all, have your information straight. Something I always make a mistake with is I don't save anything. Matthew always tells me, why do you delete text messages? Save stuff you don't know if you're going to need it again. So when you're in a situation with somebody that abuses you, you need to keep very careful notes and very close records of everything being done and said. It's important because a lot of times you can see a pattern of abuse starting way back when, and you can kind of head it off at the pass when you really know what's going on. So make sure you learn about codependency and dependency and all about emotional and psychological abuse. And codependency is a very good one to learn about because a lot of people that are abused are codependent. They feel it's their obligation to take care of somebody. It's their obligation to make sure somebody's okay. It's their obligation to make sure somebody doesn't do something drastic, but it's really not your obligation. And that's the point. Don't be put in a situation where you feel guilty if someone is making a bad decision. It's not on you. It's on them if they're an adult. Number 2, going to like AA meetings or Codependence Anonymous is one that I went to. It's very helpful if you are being abused in any way, shape, or form. You need to find out information and get some phone numbers and stuff so you can go and get help. Also, detachment. I love this. Melody Beattie said, if you cannot detach, hold on loosely. It's going to be hard to let go of the person that you formed a peptide addiction with, but you can hold on loosely and just gradually let go. Maybe ignore a phone call. Don't watch the same show that you used to watch with them. Don't sit online waiting for them to text like my former narcissistic mentor did with me. She would just sit there and torment herself watching to see if I showed up on Yahoo or not. Don't do that because it's just going to keep cementing that addiction closer and closer together. So yeah, you need to not take personally what the abuser is saying to you. That's one thing I had to learn in my first marriage was when my abusive husband at the time would say mean things to me that I would just look at him and know, you're lying to me. That's not what the truth is. I know who I am. I know what I am. I'm not lazy. I'm not worthless. I'm not somebody no man would ever want. I'm not. And I used to tell myself that all the time. That's what you say. This is not who I am. You need to detach yourself from them. Boost your self-worth. Work on your own stuff. It's very important for you to realize you cannot change another person, not even an abuser, and especially not an abuser. You have to work on your own stuff. Get the book, The Language of Letting Go. It's extremely helpful, and it's a day-by-day guide on how to get your self-worth back and not rely on an external force that's unhealthy in and of itself to give you that self-worth back. Also, learn how to be assertive rather than passive aggressive or even aggressive. You want to make sure you're not nagging, criticizing, and being a bully yourself. It's very common when you live with an abuser to automatically, over time, become the abuser just to try to, I guess, kind of bond with that person so you feel like you're not so many worlds apart. But that's not healthy. You don't need to become an abuser just because you married one or you're hooked up with one. Okay. Boundaries. This is so important. Everybody needs to have boundaries. And no, abusers do not like boundaries. They don't like being told, no, you cannot do that. No, I'm not going to be there at your beck and call just because you snap your fingers. No, I'm not going to talk to that person for you. You go do it yourself. You need to be able to stand up and say, this is my line and I'm drawing it and you're not crossing it. Also, strategy. If you have somebody in your life that is very defensive, very triggered. By the way, the word triggered to me doesn't just mean, oh, I said something and that person's reacting. Triggered to me means like almost shooting a gun. Like you say something and their hand is literally on that trigger. And as soon as you say something, they're going to just bam, snap. That's somebody that's highly defensive. They're always in this defensive mode. No matter what you say, they are ready to lash out and attack back. Even if you didn't mean it cruelly, or even if you didn't mean it in a way that was meant to be offensive to them or set them off. It might just be something you said that didn't have any meaning in it. It was just a random comment you made, and it's like they wear their nerves on the outside, and you hit a nerve every time you open your mouth. That's called walking on eggshells, by the way. If somebody has a personality disorder, you see a lot of this type of thing where they're very you say one thing and bam, that gun goes off. The figurative verbal gun, or sometimes physical gun. People will react physically. And there are specific strategies to deal with that. There's a book I recommend, Dealing with a Narcissist, 8 Steps to Raise Self-Esteem and Set Boundaries with Difficult People. There's a lot of really good books out there. There's a lot of really good articles online, and also a lot of good channels online. One that I've been recommending lately is what's it called? Now I can't. Cluster B Milkshake. She's very crass. She uses a lot of expletives, which I don't like, nor do I approve of. But if you can listen around the expletives and you listen to her telling on herself, even if she was faking the whole thing and like just acting it out or whatever, she's definitely pinpointing the narcissistic traits. She's very clear on exactly how a narcissist thinks, like the fact that they don't care if they hurt you. They're in something just for the attention, just for the money, just for the image. So it's a really good channel. I would highly recommend it. Sam Vaknin is another one. HG Tutor is another one. And as they all say, every single one of them have said, when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Believe them. When you see reactions, when you see impulsiveness, when you see the lashbacks, when you confront somebody and say, hey, why did you do this? Or, hey, you said you think this way, but yet I see you doing that. Be prepared, because they're going to get angry and they're going to lash out at you. And the going thing on YouTube happens to be making videos against each other. That's how people handle when somebody's confronting them about something, instead of here's the difference. Okay. I think we talk all the time about flaws that people have. We talk about, well, this is how a narcissist acts, or this is how an abuser acts, and whatever. That's all well and good. But let's talk about how people that are mature, that are neurotypical, that don't have personality disorders, that don't have all these little glitches in how they react to things or relate to things. Let's talk about how they would respond. If somebody confronts you, and I'm still learning how to do this myself, because I can be very impulsive and reactive at times if I don't catch myself. Somebody comes to you and says, hey, I heard you say this. I'm kind of concerned. What did you mean by that? Somebody that has a trigger reaction would say, what do you mean I was concerned? What are you talking about? Who the heck do you think you are confronting me? You're not my mama. You're not my mentor. You're not my teacher. You're nobody. That's what I mean. Some people just give you the silent treatment and not answer you at all. Other people block you if it's online. And in person, it might be a cuss out session by somebody. So, how would not a natural, but a normal, neurotypical, calm, friendly person handle that? Somebody comes to them and says, hey, I'm concerned. You said this, you think this way, but I see you doing this, whatever I just said. And the other person would say, oh, wow, I didn't realize you saw it that way. And then the first person would say, well, yeah, you said such and such. And then I watched you turn around and do this. What's going on with that? Gee, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. I guess maybe I was thinking blah, blah, blah. That is how a person that is thinking as a mature adult would respond to that. They would consider it. They would say, I never saw it that way. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. I'll pray about that. I'll think about that. I'll work on that. That's how you respond as a mature adult. Not in a fit of feathers, not making a video against people, but let's sit down and talk about it. And not bringing other people in to attack the person that came and confronted you. That's the difference. I'm trying to think of if I can explain some other differences. The reason I know this is because in my actual life, I don't deal with anything close to narcissistic relationships, abusive relationships that I've had in my life. Never. Like, I go to work. If I don't understand something, I ask my boss, my manager, whatever, we'll call her Stacy. That's not her name. Stacy, I don't know how to do this, or what's the number to type this in for the price tag. She doesn't say, well, I've told you a dozen times. Why the heck don't you listen the first time? She'll say, oh, yeah, no problem. The number is blah, blah, blah. And if you have any other questions, just let me know. That's the difference. I mean, it's just so blatantly like black and white. And I sometimes wonder on here, I've said this before, I sometimes wonder who raised certain people on here. Or maybe it's not the raising. Maybe it's just that their parents did a great job raising them and then they grow up into bitter adults for some other reason. But my mom taught me to be polite to people. I mean, as long as they're being decent to you, to not try to start a fight or fuss at them or whatever. But it doesn't seem to me that people on here or in my actual life in certain circumstances understand boundaries. It's what it all boils down to, is boundaries. Okay, for instance, my daughter called me today. And by the way, if anybody's here, I can't really see if anybody is, and I don't know why that is. But if anybody is here, 7 people. Feel free to chat. I'm not trying to take over the whole time. I just wanted to share that little bit of stuff that I researched and found out today about dealing with abusers and stuff. But I was talking to Amber on the phone, and as I was walking to my bus stop, because I stopped at a different bus stop today. I'm having some car problems. That's why bus stop. I went across the street to catch the other bus, and there was a guy standing there, an older man. And I was on the phone with Amber, and I said, honey, are you going to be home later? Because I need to go. I feel rude talking in front of this man. I know he's a stranger, but it just feels rude to me. She's like, okay, that's kind of weird, Mom, but sure. So I told her I would call her, when I got home or when I was on the bus or whatever. So she was fine with it after a while. But to me, I feel rude if somebody's standing there or I come along and somebody's, waiting and I could strike up a conversation with that person. Then why am I going to sit there on a phone ignoring a human person standing right in front of me? I couldn't do it. So she hung up and I started talking to the guy. It turned out that I asked him, so how are you spending the holidays? He said, I'm spending them alone at home by myself. And he told me his whole story about how he lost his wife and his uncle died of COVID. And I mean, you just don't know. And it's so rude to just always have technology in front of you and ignoring real life people right in front of you. So again, that's another thing. The difference between someone that is mature and not impulsive and not thinking only of themselves is to reach out and realize there's a human being standing right there and not neglect them and not make them feel slighted because you're just ignoring them sitting on a phone. There was no reason I couldn't call Amber later. And I actually called her when I got on the bus. But, I don't know where common decency has gone, like down the toilet, out the window, whatever. But it just isn't there anymore. And it's really sad to me. Anyway, I hope this meant something to somebody. I hope you got something out of this. My channel was founded and started by helping people break free of control, helping people not become prey of narcissists. So I'm getting back into that. And as I said before earlier today, um, I'm going to try to limit my conversations about other creators, drama that's going on, that he said, she said, whatever. I'm going to limit that to private conversations with a group of my members and not bring it onto live stream YouTube because I see no reason for it. It doesn't do any good. It just gives people more ammunition to use against you later in videos or whatever. It does no good. It's not accomplishing anything. And the fact is, these are not people I would sit down and try to have a conversation with. I would not try to explain myself to somebody that's being abusive to me. What's the point in that? There is absolutely no point. It's kind of like the Bible talks about casting your pearls before swine. You are a pearl. If you're a decent person that treats people decently, if you're a godly person, you're the apple of God's eye, you are a pearl. Don't cast yourself before swine. And I'm not calling people swine. I don't mean it that way. Swine would be, in this case, people that are not following the same precepts you are. And by putting yourself out there and saying, well, I'm going to sit and try to reason with these people, I'm going to try to debate them, it's a losing battle. Because remember, their job in their minds is always to come out on top, the winner, the best, the one that's being persecuted. You're the bad person. You're the bully. They're the ones that are the hurting victim. You're not going to win because they have to come out that way. No matter how you toss it, they're going to either come out the hero or the picked on one or the one that was misunderstood. You can't win it. It's a losing battle, like I said. So just go private. Talk to your trusted friends if you're frustrated about something, not with the intention of tearing anybody down, but with the intention of strategizing of how are we going to just give space here and ignore all of this hubbub stuff. Granted, when you're hurt and you're angry, you need to talk about it. But honestly, the more it's talked about in the open, and the more the people that are abusing people are hearing it, the more fodder you are giving them, the more they have to say, oh, did you hear this? So-and-so said that, and blah, blah, and it goes on and on. And everybody's been asking, how do we stop this? I did a poll on my channel. I think I deleted it since I did it, but it was not unanimous, but it was very overwhelming, the response that I got of people saying, let's just ignore it. But nobody's ignoring it, including me. I haven't exactly been ignoring it either. I've been commenting a lot less, and I've been pulling myself away, and I've been staying busy in real life. But what I really want to do is stay away from it in public. Just ignore it. Hey, everybody has a right to have their thing. Everybody. A room, a group, whatever. And you have a right to say what you want to say in your group. YouTube gives you that right. God gives you that right. And you give you that right. And yes, some people are going to use that right to defame others and tear them down and talk about them ad nauseum. That's what some channels are about. That's what they're doing. But my channel is not going to become that, because any of that kind of talk where people are concerned or frustrated can be done in private as a member. I'm not going to open up that kind of talk for just anybody. That's going to be for trusted members that aren't going to take it and go lash out at people. Now, here, think about this. When you do a background check on people, and I know that's a big taboo on here. Ooh, you checked my background? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, that's creepy. No, it's not. It's wise. That's what it is. I'm not saying check everybody, but if you have somebody in your life that creeps you out or somebody that makes you feel uneasy or you're just suspicious, by all means check their background, because you don't know who you're dealing with, especially on the internet. So one of the things you sign when you go in to do a background check is you're not going to use that information to interrogate, to stalk, to cause anybody any harm. However, a lot of people that do background checks do just that. The reason I'm bringing that up is the same thing. If you decide to have a group of people that talk about something or somebody that's frustrating them, or somebody they're concerned about, or even somebody they're warning other people about, if that's done behind closed doors, you don't then go to the person that you're warning people about and say, hey, so and so was talking about you over here. You don't do that. It's called confidence. It's like when you have a support group, people are in there talking about very personal stuff. They're talking about Uncle Charlie who did such and such to little Mary or whatever, and it's not to be taken out from those walls. It's kind of like a Discord, I guess. If I have a group, it's going to be a membership only group. And hopefully, eventually, I like to do it on Zoom so that it's not put out in the open. Although I guess YouTube doesn't put it out in the open anyway, if you're just doing it for members only. But I think privacy is what YouTube is missing more than anything. Let's all just talk in private, and not as a manner of just defaming people or bashing them, but as a manner of concern and comparing notes. When you have somebody going around abusing people, you all need to get together and compare notes and see if it's happening the same way to each other. And if it is, then you need to support each other and encourage each other to stay away and to find another playground to play in and start channels on topics and fun things or interesting things or whatever, and not get all caught up in this constant merry-go-round, around and round and round we go. I know I'm getting caught up in it too, and I don't want to anymore. It's not that I have anything against anybody for talking about it, but talking in public is just fueling the fire, guys. It's fueling the fire. So if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to wait till I have some members, or I'm going to gather some people up some other way, and we'll have a Zoom chat session, and y'all can rap about it all you want and not go back to the people you're talking about. That way you get it off your chest. It's a done deal. Everybody else does their room about whatever they want, and ne'er the twain shall meet, and everything's done in private, behind closed doors, as it's meant to be. Now, I had a talk with somebody recently about gossip, okay? Gossip to me, and what I believe the Bible talks about gossip, is an intent to harm by saying things behind somebody's back. Slander would be saying something behind somebody's back that's defamatory or cruel. So to me, it's kind of two different things, but yet kind of similar. In the Bible, Jesus, Paul, the apostles, other people actually named names at times, and then other times they didn't, and talked about the bad behavior of others. And said, like, for instance, Janus and Jambres, I think was their name or something. They said they've fallen away from the faith and they're leading other people astray. And yeah, and everybody knew who they were. When you expose somebody, everybody knows who you're talking about. So there is no harm in that if the purpose of the exposure is to warn other people so they don't get burned. That's how I've always felt about all this stuff. So yes, I have no problem with people coming to me in a group privately and talking about stuff and saying, hey, yeah, that happened to me too. What should we do about it? You know, if anything, if you're a godly group, you're going to pray about it first. You're going to get guidance and wisdom from God on how to handle it. And then you're going to leave it there. It's not going to come into a public area. I'm done going public about this. I just want to let you guys know, I'm hoping you join my membership or contact me somehow so we can talk in private if you want to talk about this or other stuff or whatever. And hopefully after time of this situation dying down, as it will, we can have our own group still established for other stuff, and then it will branch out from there and become whatever you guys want it to become. So that's all I have to say on that topic. That's my plan about the whole chronicles that are going on now. We're going to go private with it because going public is not working. And I'm not into insanity of doing the same thing the same way all the time and getting different results. Because I know you won't get different results. It's been proven. So how about we try something new? I'm going to. So if you want to join my membership, I would love to have you aboard. Please do. I don't know exactly how that works, but I will figure it out. Anyhow, so yeah, excuse me. I'm getting tired and I don't even know what time it is. I have no idea. But I'm getting sleepy. 9:25. Yep, it's time for me to get off of here. Nobody's really chatting anyway, so I have one chat message. Hi, Dee. I'm listening. Thank you, Weezy. Anyway, everybody have a great night. Enjoy your day tomorrow. I'm off work, so I'm going to get some cleaning done, and I'm excited about that. And yeah, I'm starting to minimalize my house. I think that's what it's called. Starting to actually cart stuff out the door that doesn't need to be in here so that I have less stuff and less to deal with. And then bam, everything stays cleaner. So that's what I'm working on tomorrow. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Let me know what you think of what I said. Do you think, private rooms would be a better idea to discuss stuff instead of bringing it out into public where it just goes round and round? Let me know. Have a great night, everybody. Shalom.